Good morning, everyone. As usual, I really hope all of you physically healthy and mentally happy. And thank you so much for attending the Sunday morning class. I hope, you can, I think, getting little benefits from the Sunday class. So before we start the actual class, first everybody concentrate on your breath, just in and out. Just you need to aware your breath in going in and out. Second, the breath in and out try to be more longer. After you breathe in, you hold the breath as much as you can. Then you can slowly, gently relieve the air or oxygen from your body. And also, after you fully breathe out, fully exhale, and also you must stop for a while. Don't breathe in. These two exercise is very good for balancing your energy in your body. Also very good for your lungs and heart, kidneys and liver. When you fully fill your, like abdomas, lungs with the oxygen, is really good kind of exercise for your heart and lungs and kidneys. After you fully exhale, when you stop for a while, also is really good benefit. You can have a lot of benefits for your the organs. Okay, please breathe in a bit longer and stop as much as you can. Then you slowly exhale. Then the second steps, you must have a very great rejoice about yourself to able to woke up this morning, to have a opportunity to practice the Dharma. And think, I'm not sure I will have this opportunity to studying, practicing Dharma for tomorrow, because the life is very uncertainty. Therefore, so today, since this morning until I am sleeping, I will do only good things for others, good things for yourself. I'm not going to waste my energy, my timing with meaningful less. I will use my energy, timings for meaningful, for benefit for others and benefit for myself. Particularly remembers impermanence and death. Visualize all sentient beings around us, around you. When we visualize all kinds of sentient beings, physically, we have a different characteristics. Culturally, we are different. Languagely, we are different. But mentally, we all sentient beings. All sentient beings always wish to be happy, always seeking happiness. None of the sentient beings want sufferings and problems. But all sentient beings wish to be happy, but they always have sufferings and problems. Based on visualizing all sentient beings, please cultivate love and compassion. Wish all sentient beings be happy, cause of happiness. I wish all sentient beings free from suffering, cause of suffering. But this moment, I don't have the ability, I don't have the power, free all sentient beings from suffering, bring all sentient beings in the happy state. If I become a Buddha, if I become the fully enlightened beings, then I have the ability, I have the powers, bring all sentient beings to the happy state, free from all sentient beings, free from suffering. I wish to be Buddha as Buddha Shakyamuni and all the other Buddhas. Therefore, please visualize Buddha Shakyamuni with the physical, mental qualities. Please visualize Buddha Shakyamuni according to the image. So image we use in order to visualize, in order to remember the actual Buddha. The image is not the Buddha. Buddha is not the image. So we need to use the picture, painting, photo of the Buddha in order to visualize the Buddha Shakyamuni. So based on this picture, please you visualize the actual Buddha who are the real being. In front of the Buddha Shakyamuni and all other Buddhas in 10 directions, please do 3-time prostration to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Since today, I will do prostration to the Buddha as my teacher, the Dharma as my actual protection, Sangha as my component to study, to practice Dharma, prostration by body, speech, and mind. The prostration practice is the best antidote to reduce, control your ego and your pride. So when you have a free time, you can recite the verses for prostration for 10, 20 minutes. Also, you can do the proper prostration, the short one and the long one. Based on visualizing the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, please take refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, include your Guru. Buddha Sharanam Gacchami, Dharma Sharanam Gacchami, Sangha Sharanam Gacchami, Buddha Sharanam Gacchami, Dharma Sharanam Gacchami, Sangha Sharanam Gacchami. I will take refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I become a Buddha, until I become a fully enlightened being. Also, when you are alone, when you have a time, also you can recite the stanza for 10, 20, 100 times. Next, we need to generate bodhicitta in front of the Buddha Shakyamuni and other Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Also, please continuously visualize Buddha Shakyamuni in front of you and other Buddhas into 10 directions, include Amida Buddha, Manjushri, Maitreya Buddha. So these verses I send you in copy, so you can recite 3 times for generating bodhicitta. Just as the blessed Buddhas and the great Bodhisattva have generated a mind of great awakening, I too shall, from now until I arrive the heart of the awakening, generate the awakening mind in order that I may save those who are not saved, free those who are not free, relieve those who are not relieved, and help thoroughly transcendent sorrow those who have not thoroughly transcended sorrow. So every morning you can recite these verses for generating bodhicitta. Please cultivate, generate bodhicitta in front of the Buddha Shakyamuni and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Follow the sentence. So this is how we should generate bodhicitta every day in the morning. Next, we need to generate the ultimate bodhicitta. Means we already generated the bodhicitta. Next, also please, you just visualize the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Also visualize all sentient beings. So when we visualize the field of merit, we must remember the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, all sentient beings exist only depending on different causes and conditions. None of the things around us not exist, not arise independently, inherently, intrinsically. All phenomena around us include the Buddha, Bodhisattvas, all sentient beings, totally empty of independent existence, inherently existent. Please meditate on emptiness. Now we fully generated the two kinds of bodhicitta, the general or the conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. Right now, this moment, we have two kinds of important mind. One is the mind which is wished to be Buddha, to benefit all sentient beings, rooted by great compassion. Second, we have other mind which is fully realize all phenomena around us, include our body, belongings, mind, speech, totally empty of independent existence, empty of intrinsically existent. These two minds is very important cause to achieve Buddhahood. Very important cause to free all sentient being from suffering. The two mind is very important cause to achieve the Dharmakaya and Rupakayas. Next, I think many of you already knew how to transform these two bodhicitta in a form of different object. The conventional bodhicitta, which is the mind wish to be Buddha, we generated, is just transformed into full moon in your heart. You just imagine the conventional bodhicitta transform as a full moon in your heart. Then the second bodhicitta, which is realize emptiness, the wisdom transform into white Vajra. Vajra with the 5 spots remain on the full moon. That means in your heart there's a full moon, form of full moon. It is the conventional bodhicitta. Above the full moon, you can see there's a white Vajra with the 5 spots. Is manifestation the wisdom. Now everybody think since today until I become a Buddha, I always practice these two bodhicittas, which is the conventional and ultimate bodhicitta. After you fully cultivate these two bodhicitta and transform into full moon and the white vajra with the 5 spokes, then actually you can enter into your daily practices. You can do a lot of prostration, recitation, chanting, mandala offering, everything you must do within the generating bodhicitta. So today I explain more precisely because the Vesak month will start very soon on the 12th. So in the morning of the Vesak day, the first day of the Vesak, early morning, maybe 4:30 or 5. I think 4:30 is too early. I think 5:30 or 5 is the right time to, first do the breathing meditation, then rejoice, then have a commitment, then visualize Buddha Shakyamuni and take a refuge, prostration, refuge, visualize all sentient beings, generate direct compassion, then slowly you generate 2 kinds of bodhicitta. Then, if you could, I'm not forcing you must, I'm not forcing you to do. If you could, then for 1 month, you do the proper, the fasting practice, the proper fasting based on taking the precepts, 6 or 8. So how you should do? Therefore, after you generating bodhicitta, then you should think, since this morning until end of the Vesak month this year, I will do the fasting practice and take precept in front of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, particularly Buddha Shakyamuni and your Guru. So I don't think you have the textbook how to take precept. Very simply, you should think, since today, this morning until end of the Vesak month, I will do the fasting practice, and I will accept. I will practice the 5 or 8 precepts is up to you. 5, the 4, the root vows and alcohol. Then you try to be pure vegetarian. You just eat, vegetarian food, and should not, if you can, you should not eat egg, garlic, onion, very pure. Then how you do the fasting practice? The first day, you can have a breakfast, lunch, no dinner. The next whole day, no breakfast, no lunch, no dinner. Only you can drink water or green tea or light black tea, not like a very thick juice, maybe very light juice. Then second day early morning, again, you take refuge, take bodhicitta, generate bodhicitta, precept. You no need to, take precept again. You already take a vows for 1 month. The next morning, like around 6 or 7, you can have a breakfast, you can have a lunch, then again, not, dinner. The next day, you should not eat any food. Only drink okay with the green tea, either black coffee, or very light juice, not, thick, healthy juice. This practice you can go, for 1 month. One day, breakfast, lunch, no dinner. Second day, no food at all. Then third day, breakfast, lunch. The lunch you must finish before 1 p.m. Then again, no dinner, no breakfast, no lunch, no dinner, only drink. So then how you do your practice for 1 month? After you has taken after you generated a bodhicitta, then you can do prostration, you can do mantra recitation, first day. The second day, I don't think you can do, a lot of proper prostration because no breakfast, no lunch, no dinner. You can do recitation, chanting, meditation. For recitation, at the beginning, you recite the 100 6-syllable mantra. You can visualize Vajra Sattva or not. You just recite the 100-syllable mantra for purifying your negative karmas. Purifying negative karma behalf of your families, your friends and relatives, behalf of all sentient beings. Mainly, you do the 7-limb practices: prostration, making offering, confession, so and so. First, you do, I think better to do recitation for purifying negative karmas. Then you can do offering, practice. You can do mandala offerings. Then you can do prostration. In between, you must do a lot of meditation. So if you are able to do this practice for 1 month, then the Vesak month become very important, very meaningful Vesak. Usually people celebrate Vesak only the full moon day, only in the morning. People go to the temple, offer the bathing for the Buddha. You thought, I really celebrate the Vesak. This is very culture, tradition, not that meaningful way to celebrate, the Vesak. And for the Vesak month, some of your relatives, like your uncle, auntie, brother, father, mother, who are very sick, also you can do, recitation of the Medicine Buddha mantra based on bodhicitta. Also, if you are facing physical problems, also for the Vesak month, you can do Medicine Buddha mantra recitation based on prostration, taking refuge, generating bodhicitta, then you can do recitation. Then, end of your day, you must remember, since morning until your sleeping time, so you have been doing a lot of practices. First, you rejoice yourself. make a rejoicement. Also, during the Vesak time, there's some millions of Buddhist people have been doing a lot of the virtuous actions. Also, you can make a rejoicement. Those people who have been doing a lot of the virtuous action, the physical virtuous action, verbal or mental action, you must have a very strong, pure rejoicement. Then at the end, again, you do 3 times prostration to the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha and do dedication. Whatever the positive action I have accumulated today, I fully dedicate for becoming Buddha myself, becoming Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Also, you dedicate the merit for benefit all sentient beings, the beings in the hell realms, hungry realms, animal realms, human and Deva realms. At the end, do dedications. Then you're going to sleep. So while you are sleeping, you should not just enjoy your sleeping. Also, you cultivate bodhicitta, great compassion, and sleep within the generating the positive thoughts. And also you must remember, I'm very lucky. Today I have a full day to do my practice, but I'm not sure tomorrow morning I able to awake or not. I'm not sure tomorrow I will have another day to my practice. If there's no another day for me, if I will die, the death come and wish to die, dying with a sense of positive mental attitudes. So then you can sleep within the 2 thoughts. One, whatever you able to practice great compassion, bodhicitta, and also with the uncertainty. So we never know which one comes first, tomorrow or next life. Next life. We never know. We hope, we predict I can live another few years, but no guarantee. So you have to sleep with this kind of attitudes. That means from beginning, your day start with a great compassion bodhicitta. You end your day with a great rejoicement, dedication, and next day you start again with a great compassion, bodhicitta, also impermanence. So again, next morning, when you woke up early morning, again, same thing. You might think, oh, I'm so lucky. I'm still alive. Generally, every day, 100,000 people dying, particularly during the COVID time. There are so many people dying every minute, every hours. Therefore, we are very lucky to survive. Then again, you start your daily practice. So today, I will mainly try to explain to you how to celebrate the Vesak month with a complete practice, important practice of the Mahayana path. Then, when you take the precepts, you're not supposed to take any alcohol. for 1 month. If you have a kind of sickness, you cannot sleep without taking alcohol or 1 cup or half of cup or half of glass. If you have this kind of habits, if you suddenly stop, taking alcohol, then there will be a lot of problems you will face. For the 1 month, if you really have to take alcohol, the minimum, then, for example, you hold the alcohol in your hand. Again, you visualize all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and just imagine the alcohol, any kinds of alcohol in your hands, in the glass, you just transform as a nectar. And you take the alcohol as a medicine, not as a, your entertainment, not as a your enjoyment. Right? Also, some of you have a very, strong habit, need to take a cigarette every day. Also, if you stop, suddenly stop taking smoking, also you have a, huge problem for the 1 month. So due to quicking, stopping smoking for 1 month or 10 days, sometimes people need to admit in hospital because people has a lot of, emotional problems. Again, if you really need to take smoking, cigarettes, again, you make sure 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 pieces of cigarette and taking just only in order to survive. Not taking cigarette, alcohol for my enjoyment. If I take this cigarette, I can survive another 1 or 2 days, then I can do practice. So taking alcohol, smoking, to take with a totally, like a non-attachment, no attachment as a medicine. So this is, I thought I should explain how to, celebrate, how to practice Dharma for full month. And also, some of you visit a temple, offering bathing to Buddha. So this is very Buddhist tradition. This is linked, with how it happened when Buddha was born. The first time when Buddha Shakyamuni was born in the Lumbini, that time there are so many celestial beings. They offer bathing to Buddha, then offer clothes, then offer ornament. So the Vesak Day, we offer the bathing as our Buddhist culture. So most importantly, we should not think, Buddha need a showering. Buddha need to take a shower. All the Buddhas are very pure. They are totally free from the, the negative energy, negativity. They don't have any, like a sting. So when you offer shower, offer water to Buddha, you must think, all the Buddhas, they don't have any negativity. They don't have any negative energy. They don't have any, like a sting, right? Sting. I will offer this water to Buddha in order to purify the negative energy, negative karma for all sentient beings. all the Buddha don't have, but I still offering this water in order to purify my negative karmas, in order to purify my sickness, in order to purify my negative energy, in order to purify negative energy for all sentient beings. Therefore, I offer, bathing to the Buddha 3 times. Purify negative karma from body, speech, and mind 3 times. You just put, water 3 times. And also, if you could, I don't think, any temple prepare clothes. If you have a piece of cloth like a khadak, any simple pure clothes, also you offer clothes to Buddha, which I will practice the morality, Shila, for all my life, next life, until I become a Buddha. I wish to practice Shila, offer the clothes. Then ornament. I think usually you bring mala when you visit temple. You just hold the mala in your hand. You just imagine you're offering the most important, the rare ornament to the Buddha in order to achieve all the Buddha's, the physical qualities, particularly the unisha. Therefore, for water, clothes, and ornament. So when you visit temple, you don't have a time to offer all the mala there. You just imagine. So also I will send you the verses for offering bathing, offering clothes, offering ornaments. I will send in the Zoom, through Zoom, that you can have the copy. So today our class mainly about how to do practice during the Vesak. Now we have maybe another half hour. The half hour, I think we better to go through the discussion.
Nakeshila, if someone have to take medication at night, how do he or she do the fasting?
Definitely, you can take any kinds of medicine for morning, afternoon, evening. So medicine actually, any of the medicine are not a food. The fasting, we fast for not taking gross food. The medicine is very exception. You must take medicine. Some medicine is like a solid, also you take the medicine. Or you need to take some medicine as a liquid, you must take. So medicine is not a food. We are fasting, not taking food, not the medicine. Also, I usually advise, because everybody are taking medicine, maybe once a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day. The most important, whenever you take medicine for your health issue, also you hold the medicine, for example, like this like a medicine, or you hold in your hands, and you visualize, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Particularly, you visualize the 8 medicine Buddha. If you don't know how to visualize, simply you visualize, the king of the medicine Buddha with the blue color, and recite the medicine Buddha mantra a few times. While you are reciting mantra, you visualize a lot of nectars, mantra, energy coming from Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, particularly medicine Buddha, and dissolve into the medicine. You recite a few times the mantras, then you take the medicine. Then the medicine not only cause the physical sickness, it cause to cure the physical sickness, also cause to cure the mental and emotional sickness. Because the medicine Buddha the medicine has two meanings. One, elevated the physical sickness. Second, elevates the mental sickness. So the dharmas actually medicine. So when you practice dharma, it cure physical sickness, also cure the emotional or mental sickness. So when you do medicine Buddha, you should not think medicine Buddha is only the physical, Buddha, physical medicine Buddha. The medicine Buddha is a Buddha for physical sickness, emotional sickness. Do this kind of visualization. Also, when you eat food for the Vesak day, for the Vesak month, before you eat and drink, you must offer to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Also, you can offer to all sentient beings. So when you eat food in the food court, the public area, you should not do is very obviously. You no need to do any mudara, you no need to do any chanting. You just put your food on the table. You do the mentally. You just imagine, you just stay quietly, visualize this food, this drink, I'm going to offer to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Also, I will offer this food and drink to all sentient beings, particularly hungry beings. You no need to do any mudaras. You no need to do any chanting in the public area. It's no good at all. It's good for you, also cause, other people be unhappy. Therefore, when you need to do practice and chanting in public area, on a train, on a bus, you should not do any recitation, chanting, obviously. You do very secretly, hiddenly. Particularly when you go in by MRT in the bus, the best you can do the meditation. You just sit quietly and you do meditation. Nobody feel, angry about doing meditation. You hold mala, you recite mantra, people feel you are very extreme person. So visualization for medicines, food, or visualization for food offerings or medicine, so and so. Yes, definitely, definitely you can take any kinds of medicine any times.
But Geshe-la, sometimes when we take medication, it has to be after food. So how do we do the fasting then?
Yeah, if the doctor said, you must take the medicine after food, then you should not do the fasting. Right? Sometime doctors say, sometimes doctor, we're a bit worried, the person can take the medicine without food or with the food. If you think, I'm okay, take this medicine without food, then you take. Sometimes you cannot take the medicine without food. That means you should not do the fasting. You can do, the general practices, not the fasting. If you're able to practice bodhicitta, great compassion, taking refuge, prostration, those are most important than the, just, fasting. Right? So if you have to take food before medicine, then you should not do the fasting practice.
Geshe-la, could you please elaborate the meaning of full moon? Would it be the same meaning of ultimate bodhicitta?
The full moon is the conventional bodhicitta. The Vajra is ultimate bodhicitta. There's a very important reasonings. When you feel so hot, right? You just sit under the full moon in the ancient time when you stay outside under the full moon, looking at the full moon, you feel so cooling. Because the conventional nature of the moon is cooling. So when you just look at the moon, the nature is very cooling. As a full moon, there's a meaning. When you just visualize the crescent moon is not complete. The full moon is complete, day by day. First, you can see just a ring. They slowly bit bigger. On the 15 days, on the 15th, the full moon become very full, complete. It reminds you how you can achieve the good qualities. You cannot achieve the good qualities. You cannot achieve the Buddhahood within one day. It takes time. There's a full moon. There's an important meaning. One is a full, mean complete, qualities. Second, when you remember the moon, you suddenly remember the cooling. When you remember sun, suddenly you remember the hotness. Therefore, compassion, bodhicitta, cool the anger, cool the hatred, reduce your enemy. Therefore, the full moon is the symbol of the conventional bodhicitta. The conventional bodhicitta transform into full moon. And the Vajra, the ultimate bodhicitta, transform into Vajra with the 5 spokes. 5 spokes. Right? So Vajra, traditionally, the Vajra is, I think, the important weapon in the ancient time. The diamond, cut sutara. Diamond cut sutara. So the diamond Vajra is most of the powerful tool to cut, destroy rest of the material things. Therefore, the wisdom, which realizes emptiness, is transformed into Vajra to destroy the ignorance, to destroy the rest of the afflictive obscurations. So Vajra is symbol of the wisdom. The Vajra has 5 spokes. The 5 spokes, symbolic for the 5 families, 5 Buddhas. Therefore, wisdom, the ultimate bodhicitta, transformed into Vajra. The conventional bodhicitta transformed into moon. There's an important meaning. Then the moon always, as a sixth. Then the ultimate bodhicitta just, remain on the full moon. So this we have to practice unanimely in order to achieve Buddhahood. So this is what we call, I don't know how to translate, this is a very important meaning. Yeah. Any question?
Yes, there are. What is the rationale of not taking onions and garlic? How about other strong smelling foods such as leek and chives?
Okay, garlic and onion, particularly garlic. So as a beginner, it can be maybe, it's good to know. We must separate Buddha's teaching, Buddhist, like a Buddha teaching culture, Buddhist culture and Buddhist practice and Buddhist culture. We must separate. The Buddhist practice can be universal practice. We say practice compassion. Practicing compassion is universal practice. We say compassion is good. Practicing compassion good for everybody. Good for Buddhists, good for non-Buddhists, good for old, young, very elderly people. Compassion, love, compassion, kindness, tolerance, good for everybody. And Buddha said, anger is no good, very bad thoughts. So anger is bad for everybody, whether you are Buddhist, non-Buddhist, young, old, rich, poor. You can see anger is very bad. It's a universally bad. Compassion is good for universally good. So the Buddha teaching, Buddhist practice is universal practice. Second, culture, Buddhist culture. Buddhist culture, there's a two. One, always connected with the Indian Hindu culture. One is very purely Buddhist culture. So first you need to separate, you need to make a separate Buddhist practice, Buddhist culture. Buddhist culture, there's a two kinds of. One is to fully link, connect with the Hinduism, Hindu culture. One is very purely Buddhist. For example, not eating like garlic, onion, alcohol is really linked with the ancient Indian culture. In the Hindu tradition, everybody said taking garlic, onion is very bad, particularly Jainism, because of twins religion. Jainism and Buddhism is because twins religion, because they flourish, I think, almost very same time. Particularly in the Jain tradition, then they're not supposed to, none of the Jain people supposed to eat garlic, onion, any root things like like ginger, like potato, right? So therefore, when Buddhism, established or start from Buddha Shakyamuni, the Jainism is fully flourished all over the northern part of India. So Buddha give the teaching little bit, according to the Jainism and Jainist culture. Therefore, not taking alcohol, garlic, onion is linked with the Hindu Jain culture. Suddenly Buddhism flourished, and Buddha said it's okay to eat garlic, is no good. One culture. Second, this day we explore garlic is the best antidotes to kill all many kinds of bacteria. For example, if you feel, oh, I'm going to get, flu, cold, suddenly you just, mash 4 or 5 pieces garlic, you mash together, eat with the bread, little bit bread or rice. Within few hours, flu going to go away. Therefore, you can see if you eat a lot of garlics, actually you are killing a lot of germs, bacteria. Those are also sentient beings. We believe sentient beings, right? Then strong smell. You should not take garlic because garlic has a strong smell. No. Garlic, one linked with the Hindu culture. For example, Tibetan monks and nuns, most of them, they are not vegetarian. When they go to China, Taiwan, they thought, oh, usually I take meat. Here it's okay to take meat. Then this caused many people, destroy their faith. Therefore, certain culture fit with a certain area cannot fit other areas. Therefore, garlic should not take. You can see can be strong antibiotic, right? Antibiotic for killing germs and this thing. Second, eating like meat, onion, garlic always cause you to feel sleepy. So if you seriously practitioner, you do a lot of meditation. If you take garlic, you feel sleepy, you feel lousy. Then how you can do your meditation? While you are meditating, you're going to fall asleep. Therefore, this is second reason. First, link with the culture. Second is kill a lot of germs, antidotes, germs and virus. Third, cause you to fall asleep. Therefore, you should not take garlic and onion and meat. Not because garlic has a strong smell. So, for example, if you are a pure practitioner, can you take durian or not? Durian has a very more strong than a garlic. Your whole house becomes smelly. I don't think, the people say, oh, you should not take garlic. Garlic has a bad smell. Also, Buddha lifetime, Buddha said, if you eat garlic, you should not supposed to go in the temple for 1 week because it's linked with the Hindu culture, right? Therefore, many culture, you can say when people visit temple, they need to wash feet and try to be clean and visit temple. I mean, they fully respect to the Buddha. There's a few reasons here. And also you are talking about, I think, Singapore culture in black food and white food. I'm not sure what are the black food. In Buddhist, white food means like a purely white, no meat, no onion, no garlic. Then milk, yogurt, cheese, supposed to be white food. There's two reasons. One is the color is white. Second is it's not really, any mixing with the meat. Also, somebody say, I'm vegetarian. They don't take, like a red meat, like chicken, mutton, both. But they're taking seafood, fish okay, prawn okay. They consider those are not meat, right? So if you are pure vegetarian, you should not eat any kinds of meat, right? Vegetarian. If you are pure vegetarian, if you're taking garlic, onion, still you are vegetarian. You are taking garlic, onion, this is kind of the vegetation. Yeah, so what are the black food? Anybody can tell me? Black food. How many kinds of black food?
Anyone, Dharma brother and sister, you can unmute yourself.
According to Singaporean or Chinese culture, they say, black food. What are the black food? Any like Chinese speaker students?
Black beans.
Black beans, yeah. It's okay, you can eat black beans. It's just beans. Doesn't matter the color, it's just simply beans. Then?
How about eggs?
Yes. Eggs, okay, this is my own observation, based on my own observation. Ancient time, before the technology emerged, all eggs has a life. This time, I'm not sure because, egg, without using the laser light, the egg cannot transform as a chicken. So we really don't know the egg has a life or not. We're not sure yet because we study very roughly, grossly, not precisely enough. Therefore, we just guess the egg has a life. they better don't eat egg. Yeah, egg. Yeah, egg is we consider as a non-veg. Then egg soup also is same thing. Any question?
Yeah, a lot of questions, Geshe-la.
Please.
So, what is the rationale of not? During the fasting month, if we accidentally take food during the period of non-taking food, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, you just you ate the food accidentally without aware, just you mistakenly you take in the food. Mistakenly. I'm not consider or you accumulate negative karmas. Accidentally you eat the food. If you the food in your mouth, suddenly you remember, oh, I should not suppose you just throw. Then after you already swallow the food, then you just clean your mouth, then you stop. Because according to the Vinaya rules, all the monks and nuns, after they finish lunch, there's a two kinds of way, totally stop not taking food until next morning. Somebody, drink drop of water, say, I stop taking food until next morning. Just, drink drop of water, the last meal. Somebody, when they finish the lunch, they swallow the last kind of food, say, oh, this is my last food until tomorrow. There's a true way to stop. One stop with taking drop of water, drinking water. One, just think this is my last meal for today until tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning you should not consider after 1 or 2, okay? Somebody don't take like a dinner, then they are very hungry, they can eat like a food like a 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. Still, you cannot. Morning, I think 5:30. 5:30 is the right time. You should not eat anything until tomorrow 5:30. According to modern time, after like 12, you're supposed to start tomorrow. Yeah. May I tell you a very funny story? When I was little monk, yearly we have a fasting month. So I was very little, I think 10 years boy. I joined with the fasting practice. Also, the fasting practice was very serious. You should not eat, you should not speak for 24, like almost 24, more than 24 hours. So one day I was so tired. Then I just slept on the roof of the monasteries. Then suddenly I heard the gathering sound. We play the seashell. I heard the sound. I thought, oh, it's time to go to the puja. Accidentally, I speak to someone. What time it is now? Accidentally, I speak. Then, second day or third day, I was so hungry. So we can take breakfast and lunch. Then I know tomorrow I will be very hungry. Then I save bread for tomorrow. Secretly, then I add bread, like tomorrow. So this is, I think I have done when I was little monk. Yeah. Next question, please.
Geshe-la, what's the purpose of the strict fasting? Is there any visualization needed on this fasting?
There are no visualizations. Fasting, you should not supposed to eat, you should not supposed to talk. There's a reason. when you stop taking food for, almost how many hours? So almost 30 plus hours, right? Hours. You're not taking food, mean you are fasting. So Buddha told the student, if you fast for these hours, you are purifying negative karma, particularly the karma which is you born in the hungry realms. Hungry realms. The fasting practice to eliminate the karma to cause to born into hungry realms. And stopping, like talking, also purifying negative karma, which is caused to born in the animal realms. So fasting means no food, no eating, no talking. To practice purifying particular karma to born into hungry realms and animal realms. Yeah, there's no visualization. So for you, also please everybody, you should not very much, serious about visualization. Yes, sometimes we need to visualize the field of merit. Most you need to be more serious about your practice, not just chanting recitation. Practice, try to change yourself, try to transform yourself, try to reduce the negative thought, try to generate the positive thoughts. Those are most important than the visualizations. Yeah, so far, according to Tibetan culture, we don't have a particular visualization. During the fasting, I think we do more practice of Avalokiteshvara based on Avalokiteshvara. For you, you do in general way is okay.
Yeah, so next question. For someone who needs food to protect the stomach after taking medication twice daily, is there other way to take precept?
Maybe I think because make sure we must know. Sometime many teachers said, okay, if you really need to take a food, instead of taking food, why not you just take, like thick, like a juice after medicine, before medicine. You try. The concept of precept and vows, nobody can change. Only Buddha Shakyamuni has the authority to change the precept and laws and vows. Nobody can change. Traditionally, the fasting, you should not take a food. That's not supposed to take a food. And they say, okay, you can drink water, you can drink green tea, so and so. Not for enjoyment, for only survive. Then, if you're okay to take a drink, drink like tea and water, why then it's okay to drink juice or not? Because you can see, many monks and nuns who are fully follow the Vinaya rules. They are not taking dinner, but still they take juice. If you need to take a food before medicine, after medicine, why not? You try with a thick juice. So the juice supposed to, go through the, what do you call? So when you make a tea, we make a separate the tea and what do you call the? Ancient time, they use the cotton to purify the water. If the juice go through the thin cotton, then it's okay, you can drink. As a patient, I think I can guess, you try with a little thick juice before medicine, after medicine. Not the gross food like bread, omelette, no. Juice.
Then can take milk. Is milk allowed?
Milk is not good. Light milk, okay, not the thick milk. Yeah.
What about
Mhm.
what about brown rice water?
The brown rice water go through the cotton, okay. Then okay. Too thick is cannot okay. Too thick juice, too thick, any soup cannot. Very light soup, light juice, everybody can take. If you are patient, yes, you can take, like a thick brown rice soup, juice. If you are sick, patient, you are sick people. Yeah. Next question, please. Any question?
Yes. If someone have to work 12-hour shift daily, less chances for he or she to do prostration and reciting of mantra mindfully. What would be your advice, Keshila?
The best, I think you always practice compassion, love, kindness, tolerance, instead of reciting mantra and chanting prostration. So I said many times in class, the most important practice in Buddhism is meditation, cultivation, generating. Those are most important. For us, we thought, recitation, chanting, making offering, light offering, incense offering, going around the temple, those are most important than the generating meditation. We doing opposite way. If you're shifting for, like 12 hours, please focus on your meditation, particularly generating bodhicitta, generating compassion, generating kindness, rather than the recitation, chanting, prostration. Definitely for the Vesaman, you can do a lot of meditation. You can do a lot of generating compassion. While in the office, you should not do meditation. You must walk. You use computer, whatever you use, you should not do meditation. But in the deep heart, you always have a love, compassion towards all sentient beings. Right? So walking there, time you just walk. Should not do a mindfulness meditation. This I want to say. Next question, please.
On the second day, if we cannot eat at all, could Keshila elaborate more on what we can drink? What are the light juice and what are the heavy juice? And then what about egg? Can vegetarians take egg?
No. If you are pure vegetarian, should not eat egg at all. Like egg soup, egg, like this should not. So drink, I can say, still you can do some study. Green tea, water, black coffee without milk, light juice, not the thick juice, all kinds of drink, okay. Right? Not milk, not thick juice. Then other drink, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Mirinda, those are definitely okay. But if you're totally stop taking food, then drinking, Coca-Cola, Pepsi is no good. Because it's really, digest food things very fast in your stomach, then you feel so hungry. So if you totally stop taking food for almost more than 30 hours, the first 2 days, you feel so hungry. You feel so hungry, particularly during, that breakfast timing, lunch, dinner time, you feel so hungry. Because usually your body get food in the morning, afternoon, evening, particular time. That time you feel so hungry because the stomach is waiting for food. For a few days, you feel so hungry. After a few days, you don't feel hungry. because you used to eat, not taking food. Then, if you are fasting person, you should not walk around the food court. You need to go for walking, just walk around the park, garden, should not go around the food court area. When you go, you smell the food. When you taste the smell of food, suddenly you have a very strong hungry that you cannot stop eating food. Yes, Ness?
Geshe-la, you mentioned that lunch should be taken latest by 1 p.m.
Yes.
But what if I can only start taking lunch about 1:30? Is that okay?
No, okay. Because I said, the rules nobody can change except Buddha. Except Buddha. Therefore, I cannot say, oh, you are so busy, it's okay, you can take lunch 1:30, 2 o'clock. No. So we must follow the rules, which is, taught by Buddha. That means before 1. Before 1. That means Buddha loved him before, don't say, Buddha didn't say 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Buddha said half day before of where you stay. That means morning 6 to 1 is half. Then 1 to, I think, around 7 is another half. Yes, according to where you stay, you should take the lunch before the halfway of the day. That means it's 1 o'clock. Yes, I cannot change the timing because we must follow the Buddha. Yes?
Yeah, Christine, you like to ask questions? You can unmute yourself.
Yes, Geshe-la.
Yes.
Under the 8 precepts, one of it is not sitting on high thrones or high seats. For the ordained, it may mean that not sitting on thrones. But for us lay people, are we allowed to sleep on our beds or do we have to sleep on the floor? Thank you.
Definitely, you can sleep on the bed, you can stay on the bed, is no problem. Because sitting on the high throne, generally, in the ancient time, even though India, in the China, all the Asian country, I don't know in the Europe, because that time there's no connection Europe and Asia. All the Asian people, they sit on the ground, eat on the ground, sleep on the ground. Then the rich, wealthy family, they sit on the throne, sleep on the bed, sit on the chair, then they eat and drink. Average people sit on the ground. Suddenly you sit on the throne, it is increase your ego, increase your pride. Dharma practice for reducing your pride, reducing for ego. Therefore, why we should not supposed to sit on the throne? If you are a teacher giving teaching, you must sit. If you are ordinary person, you don't need to sit on the throne. When you sit on the throne, it increases your ego. Modern time, everybody, sleep on the bed, sit on the chair. It is not a throne. It's you are in a sleeping area. Definitely, you can sit on the bed, you can sleep on the bed, no problem. Make sure it cannot cause increase your negative thoughts like pride. For example, ancient time, if you sleep on the ground, suddenly somebody asks you to sleep on the bed, then you feel, oh, I'm a bit, famous person, increase your ego. Yes, definitely okay. You can sleep on the bed, you can sit on the chair, you can sit on the bed, definitely is okay.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Any question? We can have one more question. If there's a question, if no, then we can stop.
Yeah, Geshe-la, we can stop. That's the last questions.
Okay. And thank you so much again for attending the Sunday class. I really hope, whatever we discussed together, I really hope you are applying as much as you can. I really hope you try to change yourself, try to transform yourself, try to be better person, try to be happy person, try to be more open person, try to open your heart for more others. So if you have this kind of, habits since you have a Dharma class, that means you are really, know the purpose of having Sunday class. You try to change yourself, try to be a happy person, try to be better person, try to be more pure, compassionate person. Particularly for the 1 month, doesn't matter how many difficulty comes, always control your negative thoughts, always try to generate your positive thoughts. And I hope all of you have a good practice for the Vesak month. At the end, we do the dedications. First, we dedicate the merit for achieving Buddhahood to benefit all sentient beings. Second, we dedicate all the merits to have better understanding the Dharma, have a perfect practicing the Dharma. Last, dedicate the merit for all sentient beings, particularly the beings who are facing a lot of difficulties and problems, particularly this day India facing great difficulties with the COVID. Actually, we really don't know how many people died, how many people will die, how many people are able to survive. This day, the Indian situation is very serious. So we cannot go there. We cannot give a lot of physical things. Therefore, we can share a lot of our prayers, dedication to benefit all sentient beings, particularly all the Indian who are facing these problems.